You're listening to DruidCast episode 174. Driving home at night in the company of a storm, endless taillights, I'm sitting here alone. Another day gone by, where do they all go? It's getting harder to justify a life on death row. I wanna go where I can heal my soul, talk to the wisest people I know. I will go. The soothing sound of forest leaves, and all my troubles start to ease. Forgive me, please. You will find me under the when we are born, we are told you're part of a great machine, no chance of parole. But life is a miracle, this I know so well. It's time to turn the key of my prison cell. I wanna go where I can heal my soul, talk to the wisest people I know. I will go. The soothing sound of forest leaves, and all my troubles start to ease. Forgive me, please. You will find me under the and I know that it's true, it's so much harder to do than to say. All that I can say to you is come and meet me there too. You know the way. I wanna go where I can heal my soul, talk to the wisest people I know. I will go. The soothing sound of forest leaves, and all my troubles start to ease. Forgive me, please. I wanna go where I can heal my soul, talk to the wisest people I know. And I will go. The soothing sound of forest leaves, and all my troubles start to ease. If you agree, join me under the tree. Hello my friends and welcome to DruidCast episode 174. I am your host Dave the Bard, and DruidCast is brought to you on or around the 20th of every month by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. If you want to find out more about membership to the Order and our courses, you can do that at our website at www.druidry.org. I am so happy to bring you that opening song. That was my brand new single, out today on my online store, Spotify, Apple Music, all of the usual places. It's my first non-Mabinogi song for quite some time. And yes, that does mean a new song album is now underway. It'll take a little while to finish, but in the meantime, I hope you enjoy that new song, Under the Trees. I'm just back from my first Druid camp in a couple of years. Me, Kerry and Oscar took a pilgrimage to the shores of Llyn Tegid near Bala in North Wales, the very waters that gave birth to the tale of Taliesin and Ceridwen, and joined 50 or so other Druids for community, ritual and, yes, rain. Lots and lots of rain, but we had a wonderful time. I played a couple of songs around the campfire and I heard voices singing along as the small waves lapped the shores of the lake, and it was magical. And while I was there, I managed to take a few moments for a chat with one of the organisers and crew of the camp, Krystal Jenks. So we took a stroll down to the shore, and there, under a 500-year-old oak, we talked about Druidry, ritual, midwifery and magic. So, pop on your walking boots. It's not far, it's just over that ledge. You can hear the lake from where you're standing. And join us by that shore. Walking the Talk, an interview series for DruidCast. Well, here we are on the banks of Llyn Tegid, and I am with Krystal Jenks. And, well, we're here for a reason. We're here anyway, but you would have brought me to Llyn Tegid as your sacred site for a Walk in the Talk session. So as we stand on this bank, let's describe what we can. You describe what you see. Yeah, go on. What are we looking out at?
We're looking out at Llyn Tegid, Lake Bala, across the lake, and we can see the mist rolling in over the hills on the other side of the lake. And this morning the lake is rippling gently. It changes. Sometimes it's smooth like glass, like a mirror. Sometimes it's cloudy and it looks murky. Sometimes it's blue. Sometimes it is still like a mirror. It's the most beautiful, changeable lake. The most beautiful place in the world to me, I think.
Yeah. And standing in the lake itself is a cauldron on a tripod.
Yes.
So, we're not here by accident. We're at the Anglesey Druid Order camp, right? Yeah?
Yes.
First Druid camp.
No.
For yes. A while. Yeah.
Yes. We did about 5 of these camps, about 5 years running, and then had quite a break for a few years. We felt we'd just hit a point where it had run its course for a while. And then COVID happened, and like everybody else, we felt disconnected and lonely and sad and just struggling to remember all the good things in life and what we're living for and what we're doing this for. And all of us had such a strong feeling that we wanted to go back to the beginning, back to the very first camp we did, to actually undertake the journey of brewing the cauldron of Llyn, starting with a camp here, a devotional camp to Ceridwen, to ask her to bless us with the Llyn that we were struggling to find. And we've all committed on this wonderful weekend, this wonderful devotional weekend, to spend a year and a day brewing the potion so that we can come next year to finish the process.
Finish the process of the year and
a
day.
To create the Llyn that we all desperately need right now.
Yeah. And it has been just simply magical. Again, to describe a little bit here, we have actually in front of us a remnant of last night's ritual, which is probably a 20-foot awen hanging from the tree, lit up, yeah, that we all stepped through, and the cauldron was here on the lake shore, and we were stirring the cauldron as people arrived through, and the trees here, they're all exposed roots. I'll see if I can put a picture of this as the picture for the DruidCast episode, so people can see what we're standing under. And we're standing under a massive oak, apparently 500 years old or something like that.
Yeah, it's about 500 years old. It's like a twin oak. There are two sort of tree trunks, and it's gnarled and twisted like a bent old man, and the roots are all exposed because of the erosion of the lake. Most of the trees look like they could just get up and walk at any moment. It's almost indescribable. It's ancient and it's alive, and it's the most stunning landscape.
It really is.
It's magical.
Somebody said last night that they reckon that the Entwives went into the lake, and these are the Ents walking into the lake to try and find the Entwives.
That's amazing, and I completely, I get that completely. There's something about this place. They do look like they get up and walk, and the trees are so alive and so responsive, and just this whole landscape just sings. I think if I had to pick one place that is my favourite place in the world to just be, it would be this place here.
And we just happen to be here, and you're here, and I'm here, and that's great. So why is it special? You know, I mean, there are lots of people who listen to DruidCast, and they may not know the connection to the story and that kind of thing. So Llyn Tegid, beside the town of Bala, it's a massive lake, isn't it?
Yes.
But what's the spiritual connection to this place?
It's not only a very beautiful place. Llyn Tegid is the place where Cerridwen, the goddess of Awen, the mother of the Awen, the initiator and transformer of Gwion back into Taliesin, this is where she lived and where she still lives now. And depending on the translation, it's very interesting because actually she's talked about as living in the lake or as a part of the lake or in an island on the lake, which is impossible because there are no islands on the lake. It's a huge, deep chasm of a lake. There are no islands. So it just gives us that clue that there's something more than just a sorceress who lived next to a lake. This lake is the cauldron of Cerridwen. It is Cerridwen herself. It is the potion. It is the brew. It is the source of Awen. And there's nothing more special than that, really.
Yeah. And there's so it's a gorge. Apparently, it's like about 200 or 300 feet deep in the centre.
It is an incredibly deep lake. It's certainly the deepest lake in Wales.
Yeah.
Just to pick one magical thing about it, there's a species of fish that live in this lake, that live only in this lake. They've been isolated in this lake for many, many thousands of years. They live deep down at the bottom of the chasm. They're called the Gwiniaid, and they rise to the surface just for their breeding season, and then you never see them at any other time.
They're all down there.
And how magical is that? They only live in this lake.
It's amazing.
Little blind fish that live in the depths, in the very depths of the cauldron of Cerridwen.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I wish people could see where we're standing right now. It's just fantastic. So, tell me a little bit about Krystal. What brought you to Druidry, and a bit about your path.
Oh goodness, that's always a difficult one. I think all of us have a story, don't we? Most of us didn't come from pagan or Druid families initially, and we found it as adults. For me, I was brought up loosely as a Christian, went to Sunday school, went to church every Sunday, and I had a bit of a moment when I was about 12 years old where I started to question, and it sounds really silly, but the thing that really did it for me, I had a pet rat, my rat Reggie, and he used to come everywhere with me, on my shoulder or in my pocket. He came to the shops, he came to school several times. I didn't go anywhere without him. And I, turned up at Sunday school, and they said, no, you can't bring pets into church. And I was devastated, and that was a massive turning point for me, as silly as it sounds, where I thought, hang on a minute, if we're God's children and he loves us all and he created us all, why is church only for humans? Mm-hmm. And I think I never went back after that moment. I could never look at it the same way again. And I never connected with the Judeo-Christian mythology. It never really spoke to me. and I didn't like this idea that the world was created for us to use as humans, and that God was a man, and women were created to serve man. None of it really spoke to me in any way at all. So I was agnostic really for a little while when I was a young teenager. And then I got a Saturday job in a New Age metaphysical shop, and met some amazing pagans and witches, and kind of really opened my eyes. And I went out and brought a book by Marion Green called
Which one was it?
Is it 13 A Witch Alone? 13 Moons to Master Natural Magic. But what a beautiful introduction for a 14-year-old that I was at the time.
Yeah.
And I worked my way through that book and the exercises in it. And for the first time, I tried to connect with the goddess, and felt her presence, and she spoke to me, and it was this ecstatic sense of connection with the world around me that I'd never experienced really in any organised fashion. As a child, I grew up in a tiny village in the middle of the marshes, in the middle of nowhere, and it was weird and wonderful, kind of lonely landscape, and that amazing connection of sense of belonging, of being out alone in nature that I had as a child, and I'd never connected with any kind of religious or spiritual feeling. Suddenly I realised I could access that, work with it and connect with it, and feel that any time I wanted. And that the world around me, suddenly I realised it was all alive, all speaking to me. It was the most wonderful awakening.
And you're a part of it.
Yes,
that's the thing,
absolutely.
And
actually, no, the world isn't here to serve me. We're just part of a web of life that,
And nature's not over there, it's in here as
absolutely,
well.
absolutely. And I think, and then a few years later, gradually sort of got chatting to Druids and realised that just the connection with this land, being this land where I live, and that this land has a rich and wonderful mythology. We have our own gods and goddesses that we didn't get taught about as children.
No.
We learned about the Greek gods and the Roman gods and the Norse gods, and different mythologies, but we were never taught about the mythology of the land that I was born in and was living in. And how sad is that? And I think that's what this passion in me to kind of, spread that connection and that joy and help people to learn about our own wonderful mythology and our own gods and goddesses and heroes and wonderful tales.
And how did the book from Marion Green, The Witch Alone, then go towards a Druid path for you?
I think it was. I considered myself just a solitary pagan, a solitary witch for several years, and it was just gradually starting to go to camps and chatting to people and meeting a few Druids that really cemented that for me. And I still consider myself a witch as much as I'm a Druid, really. But I don't see that there's a huge separation between the two paths at all. The only reason that I choose to call myself a Druid is that strong connection with this land, and these gods and this mythology. And having gone to camps and become interested in Druidry, I joined OBOD. I think I'm still dabbling in the bardic grade 17 years later, but I will always consider myself part of the OBOD family, and met so many wonderful, wonderful people. And I joined a seed group who were very sweet and very welcoming. I came along to a couple of the Anderida rituals. This would have been 17 years ago.
Wow.
And I just loved everything about it. I just loved not only that these people I was meeting took this very seriously, but also found such joy in that connection and in that community, in that celebration with community. And then I met Christopher at the Druid camps. And absolutely, just his stuff really sang to my soul. Again, the absolute joy and just infectious laughter and wonderfulness of it. There are some groups that take everything very seriously and take themselves very seriously too. And that works for them. But what I love is the laughter, the joy, just...
It's that mirth and reverence thing, isn't it?
Mirth and
it's
reverence.
Like too much mirth and there's no depth. Too much reverence and you disappear up your...
Absolutely.
And it's that don't listen, children. But it's that balance of the two, I think, creates the hot and cold, doesn't it? It's
absolutely.
Like how do you know hot if you've never had cold? So you have that kind of thing. So this shoreline and its connection with, as Ceridwen's cauldron. Who is Ceridwen to you? personally? I mean, it's different for everybody, but who is Cerridwen to Krystal?
So to me, Cerridwen, she is the source of Awen. She is the place where the Awen comes forth into the world. So she is a goddess. She's a goddess of magic and sorcery and witchcraft, but she's more than that. She's a mother, and she's the initiator. She's the person that sets us on this path, that tests us, that we can turn to for guidance if need be. She's not gentle,
No.
but sometimes we don't always need gentle. Cerridwen is just, of all the gods, I think Cerridwen is the one I cherish the most.
And would you say you were a polytheist or an animist, or where do you sit on that scale?
I love this question, actually, because my answer is normally all of the above.
Right.
We all go through phases, don't we? And we kind of first discover paganism and kind of, it's all god and goddess, and then I think, oh no, I'm a polytheist, and and I've kind of come to the conclusion that I am a polytheist, I'm a pantheist, I'm a panentheist, I'm an animist, I'm all of the above.
Right.
Because I do believe that the gods and goddesses to me are real. I am a polytheist. I do believe that they have an existence of their own. But at the same time, I believe that everything is alive, everything around us. And being in a place like this, that's very imminent and very easy to understand and connect to, where every tree, every rock, the lake itself, the mountains around us are just so alive. And then, beyond that, I do believe that the universe itself is alive and aware and conscious, and but at the same time, we are the universe. Every single person, every tree, every rock, every lake, every mountain, we are all part of the universe, just being and expressing itself. And the weird thing is, I've kind of come back to being able to understand and connect with some people from a Christian background, because some Christians kind of equate God to being not a man in the sky with a beard, but actually the universe itself being aware. Yeah. So I've kind of come back to thinking, God, fair enough, the universe. Is there that much difference at the end of the day?
That's right, yeah. Well, as we arrived, there was a cormorant just swimming around, which has a deep connection with the story, and I hadn't seen one all weekend, but there it was as we walked down to the lake shore, and there's probably, I think there's been about 55 people at this camp.
57 I think was actually,
57
how many people came.
Plus the kind of crew, and you've been part of the crew. And last night, as well, the sun did set somewhere, but we didn't see it. It was behind the clouds.
It's been a very cloudy, rainy, wet, but wonderful.
Yeah, but we took a journey through. Could you just, do you want to describe some of the ritual last night? Is that possible?
Yes.
Not, just a little bit,
Yeah. So the whole camp has been very heavy on the ritual, the devotional rituals, but the culmination of it really is our Saturday evening ritual, where the participants undertake a journey, and they undertake a journey through the underworld, to meet the three cauldrons: the cauldron of testing, and the cauldron of transformation, and the cauldron of inspiration. So it's a bit mad, this little wonderful stretch of lakeshore with its gorgeous twisty trees. We turn into fairyland. We make the underworld of a place that's very, very beautiful. It's very dark at night, and with solar fairy lights and candles, and we kind of make a magical journey in and out of the trees with beautiful lit up little grottos, where people meet the guardians of three cauldrons and undergo testing, make an offering to the cauldron of transformation, and then at the final one, the cauldron of inspiration, they're given a guide to help them in their journey for the year ahead. And this year their guide has been a tree. Yeah. So they picked out a little wooden disc with an ogham to give them a clue as to what tree they should try to work with over the coming year. And then they ended up on the beach by a fire with the cauldron, and this cauldron was contained the potion that we spent all weekend brewing with an overnight 24-hour vigil, that we've all brought offerings of ourselves to put into the cauldron. And they chanted and they stirred and they raised the energy, and it was beautiful. And then at the end, Cerridwen appeared in the lake, and it was magical, I think.
It really was. So sometimes I take a step back when I'm in these things, and I try and see what people might see if they weren't within it,
Yes.
you know, and we're all on the scale of weirdness, aren't we?
Yeah.
Somewhere, and some people are further along what we consider be the weird scale. But what is it about ritual, do you think, that really kind of like people going through that ceremony and ritual last night? You could have read it in a book, couldn't you? You could have sat down and done it in meditation. But what about the movement? What is it about the ritual that really, do you think, does?
I think sometimes we just need to get out of our heads and experience something with our bodies and with kind of an interaction with the world around us. You know, there are people who everything's in their head and it's all in books and it's meditation within, but sometimes you just need to kind of forget that stuff. And connect on a deeper level, on an almost subconscious level. And the only way I've ever found to do that is just to go out and do it.
Yeah.
And a moving kind of a ritual where people are moving through a landscape. I don't know what it is about it, but it just works on such a deep level for so many people.
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is that. And it's not reenactment.
No.
It's you know, and one of the things I've loved is how people have literally thrown themselves into this. Like this morning,
Yeah.
we all were paddling out into the lake around a cauldron that is sitting out there on its tripod. And then afterwards, everyone just went, right, that's it, and they just dived in and
To a freezing cold
to a
lake
freezing cold
in
lake.
Wales.
Yeah, confusing my dog. Actually, my Oscar just looked at him and said, "Finally, you know what to do with water. Come on, let's do
Yeah.
this."
Actually, of all the camps we've ever done, I think this one is going to just go down in our memories as the best one in terms of how much everybody has literally thrown themselves into it. Usually, I mean, we're British, people are a little bit reserved, you know, some people kind of gain more than others out of an experience. But I think there's something about the aftermath of this pandemic. People are hungry for this experience.
Yeah.
I know I've been. We've all needed it so badly. And I don't think we've ever had a group of people who every single person has wholeheartedly and completely entered into the experience. They've been amazing.
Done everything.
They've stood in that lake in the pouring rain, in the freezing cold. You know, there's not a single person who hasn't just thrown themselves into the experience with abandon, and it's been beautiful.
Yeah. And the canoeist who paddled past us this morning has got some stories to tell. Legends, as they say, will be made.
I think we've already made a few legends in Bala. There are actually people who now book their camping holidays here when they know that we're here.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Because they like to sneak down and kind of just have a little look through the foreshore, and or come and have a little sit by the campfire and just kind of
So you're well, I won't say away from Druidry, because I don't think that's the way it works ever, is it? But you have another role in life, and that is as a midwife. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, I'm a midwife in my...
So I mean, that must work with your spiritual path and Druidry, you know. Or do you separate the two? How does it work?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I think I step into a different role when I'm at work. I step into my midwife shoes, just as I step into my Druid shoes, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think they often meet so much. I mean, midwifery. What drew me to it was just the magic of the entire process. I mean, that's manifestation in its purest form. The fact that a woman can just grow a baby inside her from 2 cells. I mean, I know it's science, but science is also magic. And that's what I love about Druidry, that so many of us are scientists or in the medical field. You don't have to kind of believe in that the world is Harry Potter, you know, and on a really fundamental level, you know, science is magic. There's nothing that's not magical about everything in the world, and the way it happens. It's mad and it's weird and it's wonderful and it shouldn't happen, but it just does. And you know, birth is like that for me. I've never got over the fact that something can come from nothing. And that really is, I mean, that's ultimately kind of, you know, Ceridwen is a creator. She manifests, you know, from the void, from kind of nothing, and manifests the Awen out into the world. And that's what happens with a woman when she has a baby. I've just never got over it. And I do understand how it all works. I'm a midwife, but there's never a time when I'm not amazed and awed by the process.
Yeah. And it's like, when you go right to the basic level of nature, somewhere within Darwin's theory and all that kind of stuff, nature has chosen to create life in that manner. And you think, how did it get from like coming out of the ocean or even in the ocean? It just blows my mind.
It's just mental.
It is.
It's completely improbable that our planet is here, that we're here, that everything has, everything has just come to the point that we're standing here on this beach. How weird, wonderful, improbable, and how is that not magic?
And have you had kind of peak experiences, I would call them, maybe, on your Druid path, so things that really stand out in your memory as moments where you feel like you've connected with something else?
Oh my goodness, yes. Quite a few really, and
that you're
I think
to talk about on DruidCast,
and that's what
here forever.
And of course, and that's what these kind of camps and rituals. That's kind of what we're trying to achieve and help people to achieve. We're trying to. But yes, I mean,
but it's always I know myself. When you are a facilitator, you have to hold the energy. And so sometimes you can't thoroughly surrender into the moment. You have to be there with for other people as well as for yourself. So you, as not as facilitator maybe, but as just yourself,
Yeah. So I mean, so many experiences that just reinforce that the universe is alive and it appreciates us. And I'm going to quote Dr. Graham Harvey. He's a lovely, lovely man, because there's one quote of his that I will never, ever forget that moved me so deeply, and it describes so well what we do and why we do it, which is that ritual is currency in the deep world's gift economy. Basically that, ritual is a gift that we give to the world around us, to the universe, just to say we appreciate you, we love you, we see you. And what is I will never ever get over is that so many times the universe and the world around you goes, thank you, and does something incredible, almost like it's acknowledging and thanking us for what we're doing.
Yes.
A couple of examples, we tend to get this up on Osmond on Anglesey so much, and one of the reasons we really threw ourselves into the Anglesey Druid Order, because that place is amazing, and she loves a bit of ritual and she really likes to give back. So once we were up at Bar Clodiad Agauras, which is a lovely ancient burial chamber right up on the headland on a cliff. And it's normally locked, but they're really nice to the Druids and they let us have a key. So one Llyn Tegid, one Samhain, it also happened to be a lunar eclipse, a full moon lunar eclipse, total lunar eclipse on Llyn Tegid. It doesn't happen very often, and you can't get much more liminal. So how liminal are we? Kind of a blood red kind of full totality, eclipse on Llyn Tegid, and we were up on this headland surrounded by the sea on three sides in this burial chamber, and we went in and we drummed with the ancestors, and it was beautiful and it was wonderful. And then we came out and we were just ecstatic and walking back along the headland, back down to the beach where our cars were parked. And all of a sudden, the entire little bay there just burst into phosphorescence. Phosphorescence, when the sea literally glows blue. I mean, it's like little microscopic plankton that's bioluminescent, but it just looks like blue fire dancing along the waves. So there we were at midnight, freezing cold, but paddling in phosphorescence, and it's the most incredible experience. You kind of, as you move in the water, it kind of ripples out from you in these bursts of blue light. And you can't get much more of it.
It happens too often.
Yes.
When you do lots of rituals, these things happen too often. There was a moment that stands out for me, was when we were standing in the lake, chanting the Welsh words together in the lake. And just as and the lake was calm.
Yes.
And there was nothing.
Yes.
And we started chanting, and suddenly some waves just came in across where we were standing, and I looked out and there were no waves. There were no waves, but they just seemed to appear just on the edge of the circle, come through the circle just for a little while and then disappear. And it was like the lake just saying, I see you.
Yeah.
I see you. I recognise this. I remember this.
Yes.
And it just happens too often to be
Yeah,
a coincidence.
too often, absolutely. And we all know that, in the ritual, when you call the spirits of air, how often the wind will rise or a beautiful bird will just suddenly fly out from the undergrowth, And I think if you just trust that that's going to happen, and I think like you guys in Andera do, we like to do big, exciting rituals and really go to town on them. But actually, just having audacity, just getting out there and just, we're going to do this, and just trusting that it's going to work, just reaps kind of like magic. It happens. If you just trust that that's going to happen, it does in abundance.
It does. It always happens. Well, thank you to the crew who have put on this camp. It's been wonderful to see people in 3D again. To realise that people have the back of their heads as well as the front of their heads.
Yes.
And not everyone looks at you directly all the time like they do on Zoom.
Yes.
It's just been fantastic. So thank you for that. And thank you for bringing me down to the lakeshore here and chatting for DruidCast. Thank you, Krystal.
Thank you.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Built for endurance. That's how the die was cast. We will see better days than these. We are built to outlast. Let us leave our children a world made of miracles and chance. These are the times we were made for. We are built to outlast, outlast, outlast. Let us be herons out hunting, who float when the rivers rise. Let us take care of each other. Let us be calm and wise. We are makers of magic, so let the spell be cast. These are the times we were made for. We are built to outlast, outlast, outlast. Better days than these, so may the die be cast. We were built for more endurance. We are built to outlast. We are makers of magic, so let our spells be cast. These are the times we were made for. We are built to outlast.
It really was a wonderful weekend, and a huge thank you to Christopher Hughes and all of the Anglesey Druid Order for creating that welcoming and magical space. After the interview, you heard a brand new song from my bardic sister across the pond, hello Suge, the wonderful S.J. Tucker with her song Outlast. Thank you so much for sending that in, Suge. And don't forget, you can find links to the artists featured on DruidCast in the show notes. Well, if you're a regular listener to the show, you'll know that this music means we are approaching the end of the show. But before I go, let's have the results of last month's competition. There were 2 copies of the book Artio and Artawis by Andrew Anderson, and the question I asked was, which animal do the god and goddess Artio and Artawis represent? Not a hard one really. If you heard the interview, the answer is of course the bear. And the first 2 names drawn from the hat and winners of that book are John Felix from Canada and Kelly Stevenson from the USA. Congratulations to you both. Your books will be with you very soon. As I've just returned from Llyn Tegid and the lake and area of the land where the tale of Ceridwen and Taliesin took place, the prize this month is a copy of the Book of Taliesin, translated by Rowan Williams and Gwyneth Lewis, that contains the amazing poems of the great bard himself. What do you have to do to have a chance to win that book? Well, I'm just about to tell you. You just have to answer one simple question and send me an email. And the question is, in the tale of Ceridwen and Taliesin, before Taliesin was given the name Taliesin, he was known by which earlier name? Before Taliesin was given the name Taliesin, he was known by which name? Easy if you know the answer, but a quick look at the story will tell you. Email your answer along with your full postal address to podcast@druidry.org, and one of you will win that amazing book. So my friends, that brings this episode to a close. Have a wonderful autumn equinox if you are here with me in the Northern Hemisphere, and to all of you listeners in the Southern Hemisphere, have a blessed spring equinox. I'll be back here again next month for episode 175. But until then, I wish you all peace and blessed be. Goodbye.